Hey guys, it's Quan. I'm back again with another review. Spoiler alert, we are talking all about Black Mirror Bandersnatch, the newest release from Netflix. So let's dig in. They start out by giving you these instructions of how you're going to be choosing your options, and you only get to see these instructions once. So I had to actually look at it again the second time and making this in a different profile to get you these instructions. The voice that they do for the instructions is eerie enough and builds tons of suspense into the viewing experience. So that alone was scary to me. It's about this guy named Colin who's a young video game developer, and he is building a video game called Bandersnatch based off of this fictionalized book in the movie by a guy named Jerome F. Davies. It's a choose your own adventure style book. Now, the word Bandersnatch comes from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass, which is the sequel to Alice in Wonderland. And in it, just like the Jabberwocky, it's one of the creatures that he creates in this world that is a beast that the creatures of Wonderland are fearful of. Um, in this world, there's this choose your own adventure story called Bandersnatch, and this author is the one who he's basing the video game after. And so, very early on, you get this idea of how the whole choose your own adventure is going to work in the film. And this is the actual first options that you're going to get. Um, we find out that he's going to be debuting it in a facility, or excuse me, for a company called Tuckersoft, and he's really excited about it. He's been following their young developer. You get the first choice, choosing his cereal for breakfast. The first time I watched it, I did not make a choice, which was kind of interesting. I just let the the movie choose for me. And it will choose for you. If you don't select the options, it will choose for you until eventually you have no choice but to make some choices. It's kind of interesting the foreshadowing they build into this because they show you the dog, and then there's this little joke where the dad says this dog is going to be the death of us, and it actually leads to the son's ruin later on. But here's that choose your own adventure story that I watched when I was a girl, or the one I read when I was a girl, the mummy one. Here he gets to the company. We see an Easter egg of Metalhead, which is from episode 5 of season 4. Um, and it's one of the games in this world. There's also another Easter egg coming up in one of the other games. It's the Easter egg from episode 1 of season 3, the nosedive episode with Bryce Dallas Howard. And so this guy right here, he's playing the developer who's kind of the wise man to he's the Gandalf to Stefan's Frodo, if you will. And he is developing a game called Nosedive. So there's our Easter egg we're going to see coming up for the Nosedive episode. And they spell it a little differently. It's spelled Nohzdyve instead of nosedive, the way that it is with the episode. But it also is another Easter egg because in the game, the player jumps from a building and nosedives to try to capture balloons. And this is foreshadowing um, one of the ways in which Colin dies, and also one of the options for Stefan. Now, one of the things that runs throughout the whole film is this show that is reviewing the video games. And so one of the things is that you're trying to get higher reviews. So if you kind of failed your choice if the reviews weren't good, and it kind of prompts you to go back and do it again until you get a better review or better outcome. If Stefan is alive when the review is made, you did not finish the film because especially if he's alive and he's free with his dad, I'll say that. Um, so you get these options back and forth. He goes back again, and it kind of reminds you of other Christmas films that come out around this time period, like our or not Christmas films, but kind of like films like Groundhog Day. I was thinking Scrooged for a second, but it's more of like a Groundhog Day where there's a loop and things repeat again and again, except for you are the catalyst for the repeating. You are the one choosing how the character is going to repeat and what choices the character is going to make along the way. And ultimately, those choices determine their success. Now, one of the main premises of this is the theme around time being on a loop and the choices that we have and whether or not our choices actually change our path. So one of the things that we see again and again is that white bear symbol from the white bear episode, and it kind of shows you two choices. It has like the two legs that connect to one at the top, and in the film, these are actually the diagrams that he draws in order to show the different choices that the characters can make in his fictionalized game. But it's reminiscent of the choices that we're making for him as we're playing him watching the film. But kind of put me in the mindset of the Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken. Not sure if you're familiar with it, but basically it starts out, I'll kind of recite some of it, but it's like two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. And I usually have my students recite that poem, or I have in the past, or do a literary analysis for it. One of the things that always struck me is students always choose a very happy um, rendering of it. They find a very positive thematic point of it. But I always thought that the theme was more about the fact that it didn't matter which pathway he chose, it was going to ultimately end up in the same place, because at the end of it, he was going to be still telling the story with a sigh, because at the end of it, he still couldn't take both paths. He still didn't know if the path would have changed the outcome of his life. And that's kind of the premise of this whole film. It's the theme that it doesn't really matter. There are times when you choose a different pathway for Stefan, he still ends up back in the same place. And ultimately, at the end of it all, he's going to end up either in a psychiatric facility where he's killed his father and he's been committed, or he'll end up dead. And that's pretty much all there is to it. That's really the only outcome. And even when he ends up dead, it prompts you to start over again. So ultimately he's going to end up in that psychiatric facility. There's no positive outcome to this. Now, overall, I thought that this was great for the anthology. It works great within the realm of Black Mirror. But like most Black Mirror episodes, it kind of leaves you with that empty feeling in your stomach because there is no positive outcome. It's not a happy-go-lucky ending. You know, you only really get those with two Black Mirror episodes. That's the San Junipero episode and the Hang the DJ episode. All in all, I thought that it was great. I mean, it was really well done, really well made. It was really intriguing. It sent me down a rabbit hole where I was stuck watching this for hours on end. But no, it's not happy. So don't go into expecting to be fulfilled. What is it going to leave you with? It's going to leave you with questions. It's going to leave you with wondering whether endings that you didn't catch. It's going to have you watching it again and again and again. It's going to have you seeing it from different perspectives. Ultimately, you know, it says it's an hour and 30 minutes, but I spent 5 hours watching it. So there you go. Lots of Easter eggs. Like I said, there's lots of nods to previous episodes. There's one of the endings in which Colin Rittman's daughter ends up taking over and redeveloping the Bandersnatch game. And as they're interviewing her, you get all of these little news tickers to other episodes, like Liam Monroe from the Waldo episode, and he's going to Buckingham Palace. You have the reunion of the Space Fleet television show from the USS Callister episode. You have the creation of the pollinating bees that show up in the Hated in the Nation episode. You have the nod to the technology that's used in the episode where the police have the technology that allows them to see through people's memories in order to obtain evidence. It actually starts with the insurance adjuster, and we find out later on in that episode that the police are going to start using it. And so likewise, they released that as one of the news stories. You also have in that news segment, they show you a magazine cutout. And in this magazine cutout, you can see the season 3 of the USS Fleet television show, the creation of the Hot Shots, I think is what it's called, talent show from 15 Million Merits. And you also have the creation of the matchmaking software, which is going to become the software later on advanced for the Hang the DJ episode. So tons of Easter eggs in this. That white bear symbol is all throughout this episode, left and right. It's so prevalent. Tons of Easter eggs to the white rabbit, Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. Colin goes through that mirror. The mom is kind of like the rabbit, kind of concerned about time. So tons of Easter eggs in this. Um, so what I want you to do is comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. What ending did you get? What Easter eggs did you see that I missed? Let's talk about it. Let's see what others have to experience. What did you think about it? If you like this video, want to see more breakdowns like this, please hit the like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, toodles.